You didn't freak me out this time, Zoom. Welcome to Rose City Politics. It's a hard intro. I thought it was fun. You threw me off though, Doug.
What, by enjoying your banter? Sorry, I'll try to do what you're used to and just kind of, like frown in a disappointed manner, just like your parents.
John's not used to people laughing at his jokes. It's all a new experience for him.
You started out the pre-show with Jonathan again, and you know how I feel about that. I automatically feel like I've done something wrong.
That's right.
This is Rose City Politics. Welcome to a hard intro, folks. It is August the 18th. Our regular panel tonight, as you just heard, includes myself, John Lidke, Doug Sartori, coming to you from the Bees.
Today I had a wonderful experience of finding out that I'm not allergic to bee stings firsthand. So, to commemorate that, I thought I would use this background, which really is what my ambition is now, to carpet myself with as many bees as possible at the same time. I hope you guys will follow me in this dream.
I smell a fundraiser. Just saying.
Cover Sartori with bees.
Cover Sartori with bees.
I look forward to the inevitable pivot where you're the one who's going to be like moving hives from one place to another place. It's going to be a good business.
It's a growth industry.
I don't know if I would say growth industry. The bees are all dying off, but it's an industry.
Well, you can corner the market on bees now. That's the opportunity, right?
There's only 6. I mean, how hard can it be?
There you go. We also have Don Merrifield here. Don, how are you doing?
I am just covered in my emptiness as usual, so I'm doing good.
No bees around for you.
Not that I'm aware of.
Well, if you're listening, thank you so much. Consider heading over to patreon.com/Rose City Politics. We do love the support. We appear in print monthly in BizX Magazine and at bizxmagazine.com. We have a brand new column dropping in September. You're not going to want to miss it. Please like, follow, share, and subscribe to us wherever you go on social media, wherever you get your podcasts. If there's a social media app that we're not on, that you're on, we're probably not going to join it. We're not going to start doing TikToks, I don't think. Are we, guys?
No.
Yeah, no, there's nothing to gain from that.
Speak for yourselves.
Don's on all the weird social media, though. You never see him on Twitter or TikTok or Instagram, because Don is on like realtordate.com and stuff like that, right?
Yeah. Why do people hate me.ca, that kind of stuff.
I was going to make a joke like, Don's so out of it, he does social media primarily through Jib Jab.
There you go. That's where my MySpace page usually is.
There you go. We have been broadcasting live on tape thanks to the kind support of Leuna 625. Building better communities. They have helped us get through a digital pandemic, still counting down the days until we can do this in person. So go get vaccinated, because we don't want to be doing this on screens anymore. We have a really, it's a show tonight. Wide variety of topics here. We're going to be talking about Mayor Dilkens diving headfirst into the federal election, something that we haven't really seen locally here, really touching, I guess, that third rail, if you will, of politics and crossing the streams, if you will. We're also going to be discussing a mandatory vaccination policy, potentially, for the City of Windsor. This comes after St. Clair College and the university has done so. And we're going to be talking about Transit Windsor's resumption of full service and an express route to St. Clair College. So this is Rose City Politics. Thank you for tuning in. We'll jump right into it. Mayor Dilkens is diving headfirst into this federal election with a platform for Windsor. And he's advocating local federal candidates to assign onto his platform here. He lists 5 priorities that he says have been approved by City Council and are, quote, waiting for federal partnerships. The mayor is also asking residents to, I guess, take up this platform. And when candidates come door knocking, he wants you, voter, to do his legwork and ask the candidates whether or not they support his platform. Now, this platform includes 5 points, as I said. Up first, healthcare funding, getting the hospital built. Second is getting funding for the 80 Knox Herman Recreation Complex. He lists the future of automotive supply chain investment. lists the objective of Ojibwe Park Complex, a national urban park, and he is seeking funding for flood protection and climate change adaptation. Now, the website has been evolving throughout the day from when it was posted. It only included candidates from the three major parties, the Liberals, Conservatives, and NDP. However, at the time of broadcast, it has been expanded to include candidates for the People's Party of Canada, the Marxist-Leninist Party of Canada, and the Rhinoceros Party of Canada. Mayor Dilkins giving far more credit to fringe parties than even our local media would dare do. I thought it was interesting that he would even list the Rhinoceros Party. What do they do now with their platform? I haven't seen anything really new. I mean, how do they keep up with the absurdity that is just politics now?
You know, what I hope is that the Rhino Party is just recycling their platform from like 1980 with like beachcombers jokes and stuff. That would be ideal. I think that would be the best opportunity for that party.
You know, I look at this platform here that the mayor has put out, you know, and he says it's been approved by city council, but this came out of nowhere. I don't think anyone was really expecting to see this. As I said at the top, this is really wading into something that at least I've never seen in our local politics. This type of this isn't tiptoeing into a federal campaign. This is breaking down the door, running into the room, and, you know, pulling your pants down. This is just like, it's staggering to see this. The one thing that really stood out for me, you know, first, of course, getting funding for the hospital, getting it built, not a federal issue. It's a provincial issue. Not sure what he's going to be demanding there. The 80 Knox Herman Recreation Complex, I guess getting funding for it. Well, yeah, the mayor committed us to $40 million for the city to pay for it if we don't receive federal funding. So you could see how that would be a priority for him, because, you know, dropping that $40 million at the height of a pandemic, or with that commitment without knowing where that funding is really going to be coming from, it was a bold thing to do at the very least. The rest, you know, I guess supply chain investment. We've talked about the future of automotive here. You know, low hanging fruit. Not much surprise to see there, but I want to get into the politics of it. And Doug, I want to come to you first. I mean, what was your take to see this just, you know, drop today, just part of the news dump?
So there's so many directions that I want to go with this, but I want to start with the politics of this in terms of city politics. So, you know, you pointed out that each of the items that Mayor Dilkins selected for this platform can be connected to a vote of council on, you know, some issue or another during this term. But that is an incredibly weak connection to draw to identifying priorities for the federal election for the city. If you wanted to do this, and I'm not sure that this is a very well advised intervention, but if you wanted to do this the right way, you would do this at a council meeting, have a conversation, identify the items that matter, and get a mandate from council to bring this platform forward to the, you know, federal candidates. That's I think would be a way more appropriate way to do this. You know, the mayor is usurping authority that he does not possess. You know, the mayor is the first among equals. He is the head of council, but independently, this is, I think, pushing the limits of what is reasonable and appropriate for the mayor to do. However, in the political environment that we have here in Windsor, it's not particularly likely that this will become an issue around the council table. I think that Mayor Dilkins gets away with a lot because people just don't want to complain about every single damn dumb thing that he does. So he'll probably skate on it, but I think it's crummy. And I don't think that it's a particularly well thought out document. You know, these are all pet projects of Mayor Dilkins. Each of these can be connected to something that he has committed to delivering on. So what he's really trying to do is outsource his political agenda, the promises that he's made to electors in Windsor over the course of the past 4 years. He's trying to outsource that to federal candidates and use the federal election to put pressure on them. This is the kind of thing that no federal campaign wants to see. Full disclosure, I am a part of a federal campaign here in Windsor West, the Liberal campaign for Sandra Pupatello. It should be no surprise to our listeners. And but I do not and am not speaking for the campaign today. But in general, I think that putting pressure on campaigns this way is something that various pressure groups try to do. I've seen climate change groups and right to life groups and other groups like that will send this kind of document out to candidates and ask them to endorse it. It's generally a distraction for campaigns. I don't think this type of thing is ever taken particularly seriously for the reason that I stated earlier, because whatever the agenda of the individual or organization is they're trying to impose that agenda on candidates in the pressure-packed environment of an election campaign. Nobody wants to pick a fight with a politician at another level of government during an election. Nobody wants to do that. No campaign is going to say, this is stupid. They may well be thinking it. They may well be thinking this is unwelcome and annoying, but no one is going to publicly say that. What a smart politician is going to do with any attention that this document manages to get, what a smart politician will do is take the opportunity to talk about their agenda and talk about the things that they want to get accomplished and the things that matter to them and that they hope will resonate with voters. So I anticipate that what you'll see, should any candidates at the federal level do media on this particular intervention by the mayor, what you'll probably see is some nice words about the mayor, some nice words about how important good relations with the city is, and then a pivot to what you actually want to talk about. So what this really seems to me to be is an attempt to intervene in the election that is likely not to get much traction, and B, a waste of time.
Actually, I have a question for you guys. Do you think, especially the 80 Knox being included in that, like you say, Doug, that is a pet project of the mayor's, and generally he gets what he wants at council anyway. So he announced that project is going to cost 40, whatever, tens of millions of dollars it's going to cost. Is he basically admitting he has no idea how he's going to pay for that?
That may be. I think he's looking for an endorsement for that idea. But if you're, again, Don, if you're a candidate and you've been a candidate in the past, would you want to, with no information, not based on a meeting and a conversation, but rather based on a document that gets dropped in your lap, would you want to sign on and say, yeah, whatever the mayor's doing is great?
No, you're going to run away from it as fast as possible. And it seems, what about to me, this is the ego of the whole thing, putting out a document like this, expecting everybody has to come and kiss the ring, or, what's he going to do? He's going to campaign against the people who don't agree with these 5 things? Or is this just a matter of, I'll come here and tell me how awesome I am, and if you agree with me, don't trust me, you'll get elected?
Yeah, there's no upside for a campaign to engage with this. I note that one campaign so far has chosen to endorse this platform. I will make no further comment except to,
it's the Marxist Party, isn't it? Please be the Marxist Party.
It's not. That would be awesome. That would be really awesome. But look, Don, you kind of hit the nail on the head. This is the mayor putting pressure. He's trying to be a bully. People are in a vulnerable position. Anytime anybody who puts their name on a ballot is in a vulnerable position, and they are, especially sensitive to pressure and sensitive to public comment about them. Any candidate would know that. Mayor Dilkens, having been a candidate many times, would certainly know that. So this is an attempt to, just as you say, get people to kiss the ring. Drew is trying to take Mayor Dilkens is trying to take advantage of what he perceives to be a moment of vulnerability among candidates vying for election to get them to kiss his ass. That's what he's doing. And it's one of Mayor Dilkens' two modes of interacting with the population at large. Either he is demanding that you kiss his ass, or if he perceives you to be more powerful than he is kissing your ass. That is pretty much the alpha and the omega of Mayor Dilkens' public engagement with other public figures. Compare this intervention to the way that he basically extols the virtue of the latest bowel movement of Doug Ford at every opportunity. Those two polls are basically the polls that Mayor Dilkens acts on in a public manner. He's either doing one or doing the other. Today, he is trying to be the kissee rather than the kisser.
I would just like, for full disclosure, to let everybody know that I actually do speak for the Sandra Papatello campaign in Windsor West. So anything I say can be taken as an official statement from the Liberal Party of Canada. Actually,
not only the campaign, but you're taking the entire Liberal Party as well.
The whole party.
I did not see that in any of the emails, Don. I think you might be going rogue.
You're kept off the emails now, Doug. This
is a much higher level of importance than an email you're going to get, Doug. I'm dealing with the top people. So another kind of question to both of you, I guess. When you look at these priorities, and I guess I'm stuck on the 80 Knox one because that is purely a project he's just doing for his own ego. We've look at some of the announcements that have come up where everybody, especially the mayor, council, and even federal, MPs have come down. We talk about the homelessness situation, the housing crisis in here. They come down, they do the announcement for the apartment building they're building off of Lozon, setting up a city-run temporary homeless shelter, all that kind, like all of those kind of issues, housing, homelessness, mental health issues, the drug issues, even the border. Like those are all issues that the federal government can deal with. Why wouldn't he want to talk to the federal candidates about that sort of thing instead of, he wants to build a cool pool down at wherever the hell he's building it?
Because it's low-hanging fruit. Like, go for the easy stuff, right? This is like, he's making demands for money. And if someone says no, well, then we've got ourselves like an enemy here. We've got a villain in the story. And Drew's just, the valiant knight who's trying to just save our lives down here in Windsor, and everyone's opposing him.
But doesn't that show you what his real priorities are as the leader of a city? Like I mentioned, all those other things, homelessness, housing crisis, border, all that stuff. That's not even what he's talking about. He's talking about random. The hospital, give or granted, the hospital to me is very important. Wherever they build it, I don't give a shit. Just build it. So the supply chain thing, sure, that's some of the federal government get. But again, the 80 Knox thing, why not talk about big federal issues that are actually real serious problems as opposed to projects you just want to get built because you want to slap your name on it? Doesn't it show you where his thought process is as to what's the most important thing going on in the city?
I think that's really insightful, Don. I think you're totally right on. Everybody clip and save that comment because it doesn't happen very often.
That's why you're not included in the discussions.
I think that's really insightful. Over the last couple of years, Mayor Dilkens has increasingly engaged in partisan politics. We've commented on that many times. And I think that this intervention really helps to kind of narrow that down and identify what it really is all about. And for Mayor Dilkens, it's all about Mayor Dilkens. It's all about Drew Dilkens. It's all about his agenda, his ego, and his personal ambitions. There is nothing here in this document to indicate that it is a serious and well-considered perspective on federal issues that impact Windsor. It's a gimmick, it's a stunt, it's a waste of time, and it is totally irrelevant to the unfolding federal campaign.
Yeah, going back to what you said, like Don earlier about, bullying, is this all that it's going to be? I didn't realize it's not that well designed a website, because I didn't realize that there were actually sub pages on the actual policies themselves, because you have to just click a photograph and it doesn't indicate that that does anything. But there are some specific asks. So they're asking 13 million for the West End recreation facility specifically. But listen to this language here at the very end of the section. Without Ottawa's funding support, the project will be slowed and done in phases to align with municipal funding sources. It's like, so if that's the type of rhetoric right now, oh, the only reason that we're not going to have our 80 knocks when we're supposed to have it is because Ottawa didn't step up to help us. It's like, well, you're the one who did this, man. You're the one who spent 18 months negotiating with the university for a 6-day public consultation period to ram this thing down everyone's throats. But to keep looking through here, he's asking to increase the Canada Health transfer to 35% for the acute care facility hospital. So he's asking for it to be increased from 22% to 35%. Like, that's a huge ask. It's a really big ask. And I agree with you. Like, this is a joke of a platform here. It's meant to just be able to whip up noise, get some ink on a page here, and, find another enemy. Wants the feds to fund an electric vehicle manufacturing strategy to specifically bring jobs to Windsor. Again, pipe dreams here. And is there a candidate that would say no to that? No. But why would it have to be done on your terms, Mayor Dilkens? Like, and this is where you get to that heart of the matter. A more reasonable one, transfer Ojibwe Shores property to Parks Canada. Again, these are things that are being discussed already that have, quite frankly, been announced, that there are, we're more than in the consultation phase right now. I mean, it's been said by the Minister of the Environment's office, there will be a urban park coming to Windsor, and they're trying to sort that all out. And the last one is asking for an additional $27 million for the sewer master plan. So again, yeah, this is not the way that we've seen things done. And I don't know. I don't think that do you think this is going to resonate with, Mayor Dilkens' base here? Because let's be honest, that's all that this is about, right? Do you think that they're going to look at this and go, hey, it is a valiant effort, we need more of this? Or do you think it's going to fizzle?
Go ahead, Don.
Well, I was just going to say, we all know there's an election coming municipally, not that too far down the future. And to me, this just looks like, if I can get 2 or 3 of these things, and even some of these things are so vague that, anything could be considered a win, like, automotive supply chain. I mean, there's talk about a battery plant coming here. Well, if the Fed support that, he can say, well, look, I did that. I put this on this document and I got this funding done. To me, it's A, dumb, but B, it's also just, something he can use later on to campaign on.
Right. Well, you raise a good point. Like, is that an appropriate use of city resources? We come back to that again and again. Every government does some amount of communication on its own behalf while in government, but this is getting to be a little bit much from the mayor. But the other thing I wanted to mention, since you talked about this as an election strategy, I think there's something that Mayor Dilkens may not have considered or may not be considering, and it's not just about this one intervention. It's about the pattern that he is developing. Number one, of picking fights. I think that picking fights as a politician is something that you want to do when there's an issue at stake that really matters. It's something that you want to do when you think that you can get something that your constituency needs, that the people who got you there need and want. Mayor Dilkens is being a spendthrift. He is being very free with his political capital, in my opinion. And I don't think that he has as much to spare as he thinks he does. I don't have the figures to hand, but if you think back to 2018, Mayor Dilkens had the weakest mandate for a mayor facing re-election in Windsor, for a first-term mayor facing re-election in Windsor in practically living memory. He only got 55, 56% of the vote, something like that. And I say only, yes, that is more than 50% of the vote, but put it in context. With all due respect to his opponent, he was not facing a strong challenge. He was in fact facing a quite weak challenger and quite a weak campaign. And he barely crossed the 55% threshold. And when you look back at Mayor Hearst or at Mayor Francis and look at the kind of totals that they racked up in their re-election campaign the first time around, you're talking 70+% of the vote. So the point I'm making is that Mayor Dilkens has a lot smaller stock of political capital than he thinks he does. Maybe he thinks that he can get elected with 51% of the electorate, and so nothing else matters. But the other thing that goes along with that is that your political capital is your ability to get things done. Your ability to intervene, to weigh in on issues that matter and get things done, whether it's something that you can directly vote on or direct or not. And doing stuff like this. So let me ask you guys this by way of illustrating my point. If you're a federal candidate who got this dumped on you on like day 3 of the campaign, no warning, presumably no conversation ahead of time to say, hey, this is going to happen. And where do you stand on this stuff? If you win, how quick are you going to answer the phone when this guy calls you?
Yeah, no, it's like lose my number, man, for at least 6 months. I don't want to engage with you.
Yeah, it would have been, probably would have been different if he kind of looked at the top tier candidates. And let's face it, there's gonna be candidates that are irrelevant in every election, and actually had a meeting with them. Bring Xander down, bring whoever the hell else was running, everybody out there, Brian and all those people.
Margaret.
Yeah, Margaret's very important. And but bring them down to a meeting. Say, look, this is kind of the things we're looking at for the city of Windsor, and we would like to see if let what kind of things we would like supported from the federal government, if this is something you can. But yeah, just to throw out this document and say sign it and kiss the ring is, I mean, it's absurd and almost comical, really.
Well, last week he did meet with a couple of the federal candidates. I saw a photograph of Brian Massey that was put up. I believe the conservative candidate for Windsor, Windsor West, was put up as well. Not sure about the rest, but I do wonder, do you think this came up in those meetings?
Oh, it's a good question.
I have no idea, but if I had a meeting with the mayor and then this happens and it wasn't brought to your attention, it's even more of a sideswipe. Wow, I just bit my tongue there because I almost let out a cuss word. Let me ask you this though. Do you think that, in the same vein, Doug, going to the question about political capital, and then we should move on to the next topic. Do you think that this backfires at all? If the vast majority of candidates say, I'm not going to sign on to this because it's irrelevant and you're just trying to get involved in something that you shouldn't. And then if, let's say these things don't go through, let's say we don't get this funding for 80 knocks. Is there the converse to this, that Mayor Dilkens, you went out of your way to push this and you got scorned by the candidates. The funding didn't come through. It's like they say about taking credit when the stock market is good. You're going to have to take it when it's bad too. Do you think there's any pushback on that, or do we not have any memories and it'll just get memory holed away?
We don't have any memories and it'll just get forgotten. Look, take a recent example. We Can't Wait. The We Can't Wait campaign was clearly not a success. If you look at the dollars that were spent and the numbers that were achieved there, that campaign got less response than the grassroots campaign that came before it, 42 Forward. So it was an abject failure. There's, the Economic Development Corporation, whatever they're calling themselves, InvestWe, they took a reputational hit pushing this thing. The mayor pushed this thing and it fizzled out after spending ungodly gobs of public money. And what's the consequence? It's one more thing that goes into forming people's impressions of the mayor. So there may be As I alluded to earlier, I think the overall impression may not work in his favor in future elections, but the chances that this is going to be like some item of outrage is like nil.
Yeah, and okay, let's assume that none of the candidates are going to pay attention to this. Obviously he's taking it serious because he put this out as the mayor. All his stooges on Twitter, his mouthpieces on Twitter popped that out before he did. So good job there, hiding your affiliation with the mayor's office. And
the mayor has social media stooges.
Yeah, like 3, and they have 3 followers. Anyway, so
each other.
That's 9, buddy. That's the power of multiplication.
For all you kids out there, compounding interest is the greatest thing that'll ever happen to you. Ask your math teacher. But anyway, so he puts this out. Let's say the candidates ignore it, and the big candidates probably are going to ignore it. Is he now going to go after them? And if he goes after them and they win, is it now like John says when he calls, screw it, I'm not taking your golfers? Like, there's no winning in this game. The only win for him is to think that they're all going to sign on. They're all going to kiss his ass, as Doug eloquently said. And, he's going to help them get elected, and everyone's going to, hoist him up on a golden cathedral and carry him around town. So if he doesn't get anything and he goes after these people and they get elected, all he's done is screwed Windsor basically at this point because of his own ego.
Correct.
You might want to clip that one too, because Doug's agreed to me twice today. So
maybe that bee sting affected me more than
it is.
thought.
You might actually be allergic, Doug. You might want to need an EpiPen or something.
Maybe the bee sting gave me Don Merrifield brainworms.
It was a blue conservative bee. It was all,
Let's go on to the next topic here. City of Windsor considering a policy for vaccinated employees. AM 800's Rusty Thompson put this one out. While the University of Windsor and St. Clair College are requiring all staff, faculty, students, contractors, and visitors to be fully vaccinated to visit their respective campuses this fall, the City of Windsor is considering return to work policies when it comes to COVID-19 vaccinations and city employees. They're looking at mandating full vaccination status for back to work, and those who aren't vaccinated may have to undergo testing. The University of Windsor has over 16,000 students on campus. St. Clair College has over 7,000 students on campus. City of Windsor has roughly 2,500 employees. But Mayor Dilkin says the issue of mandating vaccination for city employees is a little bit more complex than other institutions because of the size of the workforce and because someone has to manage the flow of information based on those who are vaccinated and track records. The mayor does say that the city would like to take a leadership role, quote, on this issue. However, the city is quickly being surpassed by local institutions such as the college, the university as mentioned, and the hospital, which has already instituted policies. Windsor Regional has given anyone who works or volunteers at the hospital until September 7th to disclose their vaccination status. Those who are unvaccinated or refuse to disclose will face mandatory bi-weekly testing. That is twice a week, not once every 2 weeks. Terrible word, bi-weekly. You have no idea what it means. Or potentially employees or volunteers could lose hospital privileges or even their jobs. I find it pretty funny, the mayor saying that 2,500 employees is too difficult to manage here for this, when the college and the university both respectively have already made it clear, well, they can do it. We're going to deal with it with far more people on campus. Again, I say 16,000 students at the university. That's just full-time students, and it doesn't take into account, of course, staff and support staff, faculty, administrative, the whole shebang. So, I mean, I think this is really smart, of course, having these mandatory vaccination policies. It's good business sense to keep your employees safe, keep, citizens who have to interact with them safe as well. What's your take on this one, Doug? I'll come to you first again. I don't know, just the mayor's comments just left me a little flummoxed.
Yeah, I don't understand how it's more complex. Someone has to manage the flow of information based on those who are vaccinated and track records. Would that not be your HR department? And wouldn't every organization have an HR department appropriately sized for its workforce? So yeah, it's a little weird. I mean, like these people do get paid, right? Like they get a regular paycheck. They know their names. Like I'm just asking questions, right? The mayor has made me concerned. If I show up at City Hall on the right day, can I just take a pay packet because they don't actually know who works there? Yeah, I'm sure that was just like, we're having some fun with it. I'm sure that was just, the sort of political running at the mouth that happens.
Duck speak.
Yeah, this is good policy. We're facing the fourth wave of a global pandemic, and vaccination is the best way for everyone to protect themselves and each other. And the more of the population that's vaccinated, the less that we will risk seeing variants emerge and the less pressure on our healthcare system. I am neither a healthcare practitioner nor an expert on public health, but that is my understanding based on what has been reported in the media by the experts in question. So in that environment, I think that it's really important for institutions to use the tools that they have to help increase the vaccination rate, not only because it will make the workplace safer for everyone who works there, but because it's an important contribution to public health. When you're talking about 2,500 city employees, if you can achieve a 100% vaccination rate among those 2,500 city employees, you've gone a long way to bumping up the overall vaccination rates in our community. And the same goes for the 20,000, 25,000 students between the college and the university, and the many people who work at Windsor Regional Hospital. You get all those folks vaccinated and you have done something really good for our community. So this is good news.
Yeah, it's interesting that, I watch CNBC way too much. And there's many multinational corporations out there who are saying they expect their staff in all their offices or wherever they work to be fully vaccinated. So, if a giant company can basically figure out that, 50,000 or 1 million employees have vaccine status, I don't see why the mayor can't figure it out with the city. I think I looked at, and I could be wrong, someone out there will surely correct me. I think Windsor hit 80% double vaccination status today or yesterday. I saw something from the health unit. Not sure if it was today or yesterday. And, that's great on you, Windsor, Essex County. So I don't think asking that, the city employees go out there and get vaccinated, 20% of, 2,500, we're talking 500 people that they have to convince if we're using generic numbers. So I don't see this as a big ask. And I agree with what Doug said. I mean, I don't want to get an argument about personal rights or personal freedoms and all that. Look, I consider myself pretty conservative in the Canadian way. Ironically, my friends down in Atlanta and Georgia, where my brother lives, thinks I'm the most liberal guy they've ever met in their entire life. So it's all perspective.
Have you been to DonMerrifieldJr.com recently?
No, Jesus, don't tell them about that. And so you know what? Look, to me, anybody who works in the public sector should be fully vaccinated, whether it's health services, whether it's teachers, whether it's city employees, whoever. They should be fully vaccinated. It should be a mandatory thing that goes along with your employment status. If you don't want to do it, you're more than welcome to stay home or quit your job. That is honestly my opinion, however hardline that might sound. What we're dealing with now goes above and beyond politics, and it's above and beyond, what about Don? How does this affect Don? This affects everybody. And that's one of the few times I'll say that. This affects everybody. So, this is bigger than an individual person. This is bigger than, the mayor. This is big. Like, this is just something that we all have to do to live in a society where, we're one of the most fortunate peoples in the world to live in the country we do. And it's one small thing we can do to keep everybody safe. You want personal freedom, you want all that stuff, go live in Somalia. They're happy to have you. There's no government. They won't even take your guns away. So I think this is a good policy. I hope it goes through. And I hope most of the big companies in Windsor actually do the same thing.
Yeah, it's a really good point. I mean, what both of you are saying, I agree. I hope more large institutions, large employers do it. Doug, you're absolutely right. It's when you add together all of these numbers, you've got a pretty significant amount of people here. You're talking about over one ward at the very least with just the numbers that we're talking about here alone. I wish Pat was here right now because I would love to ask about, and I'll ask anyways into the void. Pat. Um,
I'll answer for it. Don't worry.
I guess, the liability that there must be, I'm sure legal department is sitting there going, we can't be having people in small places that are, small enclosed spaces that are poorly ventilated. I'm thinking, Transit Windsor, buses come to mind at the outset, but of course, also people who work in small offices at the 400 building or at City Hall, even though City Hall is brand new. I do wonder what the liability risk must be if you know that your seatmate a couple seats over from you is unvaccinated. And, what if they end up getting Delta? What if it spreads? God forbid, what happens? And then who's to blame there? Well, I could tell you, the way that it usually goes is I'm going to be suing the person who was sitting next to you. I'm going to be suing the city. I'm going to sue everybody who's involved in it, throw it at the wall and see what sticks. So Don, respond.
Well, I think using Doug's numbers there, you say it's the equivalent of about a whole ward. So obviously John's opinion is we should take all the unvaccinated people, put them in one ward and just build a wall around. I've seen the Maze Runner movies, John. I know how this works. It's fantastic. Works every time. So yeah, I think the liability issue is a huge thing. Let's just say I'll use my office. Like there's 200 people that work at Remax roughly. So I'm sitting in my office. I'm fully vaccinated. My company doesn't have a policy where you have to be fully vaccinated to go into the office. Some dude coughs on me. I get sick. Who do you think I'm suing in that position? Because I'm gonna sue somebody because I was minding my own business and something you did that had nothing to do with me basically got me sick, and God forbid I'm 100 years old, I could die. So yeah, I think liability, especially from, I know we might get to the transit question later. Bus drivers and people work at Transit Windsor, are they going to mandate that everybody who comes on that bus is vaccinated? How do you do that?
Well, if we had a provincial government that would implement a vaccination records or a passport, if you will, a QR code would work really easily for that. Or you could show your cell phone that has it your status on it itself. But less that, we're going to have to see it ad hoc put together like this with institutions going at it alone. And I don't know how you answer the question for Transit Windsor. I mean, that it gets to be for ridership, that gets to a really murky place right there.
So how about, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there, but what about, let's take my stupid comment about you putting everybody in one ward and narrow it down to City Hall. Do you take the unvaccinated people and say, okay, you all work on this floor and you can't go anywhere off this floor?
Oh my God.
Armed guards, wild dogs.
This is like Escape from New York, right?
Yeah, I watched. That was a great movie for all you kids who've never seen that. Go watch that movie.
This would be a terrible movie. We're taking all the bureaucrats and putting them onto one floor and hoping it's a Mad Max
type situation. This would be the most popular movie ever of the summer, John.
Escape from 400.
It's funny to joke about, but
in case anyone's wondering about why I never got elected for anything, well, I think we're all just figuring out right about now. I would be locking you up in wards and in all kinds of crazy places.
My favorite genre of Rose City Politic take is Don says thing and someone must hear it completely out of context and go, the hell are they talking about on this show?
I can never run again because all people are do is take clips out of context to make me look like more of a lunatic than I actually am. So
I don't know, man. Reno, Chris, and Kieran all skated on that. None of their opponents thought, hey, that would be a good idea to dig into the RCP archives. Hopefully
I still got my signs downstairs, Doug. I'm ready.
Yeah. Your opponents, John's opponents, and Pat's opponents in the next election, because I'm encouraging all three of you to run because I'm not. All of them will have the same respect for the integrity of this program and not bring it into the election campaign.
Of course not. Everything Kieran's told me drunken in private will never come out when I'm running against him.
I like you're running against him in this scenario.
Don for Ward 9, I've got the dirt.
There we go.
Well, let's get on to the last topic. It can dovetail into this. Transit Windsor is resuming full service September 5th and adding an express route to St. Clair College. Windsor Stars, Julie Kotz put this out. As I said, September 5th, that's the date for all city and county routes to be back with Transit Windsor running full steam ahead. The new Route 518X to the college via Devonshire Mall will also be operating 518X. It makes it sound a lot more hardcore than
awesome.
a bus route. I like it. Yeah. Like
Speaking of Escape from New York, that's like the helicopter that takes you in.
100%. Yeah.
Now, Transit Windsor's been
There's
operating.
going to be flamethrowers coming out the front. There'll be rockets launched out the back.
Transit Windsor has been operating on enhanced Saturday service since September of last year due to the pandemic, but they're coming back with the return to class for both St. Clair College and the university. The new Route 518X limited stop express bus route from Tecumseh Mall to St. Clair College will cut 2 hours of travel time for riders and reduce travel times between East Windsor and the college by over an hour in each way. I mean, this is the kind of a story that if you're reading this from out of Windsor, you're going, wait, why the hell did it used to take so long to get across the damn city? Like they're taking an hour off of travel time. Now, Transit Windsor will continue to limit capacity on buses, performed enhanced cleaning, and require all riders to wear a mask. The mayor says that the city's goal of expanding Transit Windsor service was put on hold by the global pandemic. Now, this is obviously true as the mayor unilaterally ordered the temporary suspension of Transit Windsor operations on March 29th of last year. Now, the 2021 municipal budget did provide an operating subsidy of over $21 million to support and enhance Transit Windsor, but the tunnel bus is still shut down until the border is fully open. Again, I made that joke there. It's crazy that this is advertising a 1 hour reduction to get from East Windsor to West Windsor. I mean, we've talked about this before, but people have jobs. Like it's insane to think that you would have to leave. People are leaving 2.5 hours before a job to be able to get there on time for something that's a 13-minute car ride.
Well, and remember, John, this is the route that's leaving from Tecumseh Mall. You have to get to Tecumseh Mall first to hop on that bus to make your less than 2 hour trip down to St. Clair. So this is still going to be, I mean, we've talked about the bus system many times and how absurdly poorly handled and organized it is, but this is like you say, it's taking an hour off the time, but literally something, we can drive in our cars, motorcycles, or whatever in 12 minutes.
Hell, you can take you can't use a bird to get across town yet, but I mean, bird, the opportunity, like you could get a bird across town right now if they had allowed it for probably like 19 minutes.
Yeah. And no one's going to breathe on you. It's fantastic.
Yeah. Baby steps, guys, baby steps. So
actually, to go completely off topic, I saw something on Twitter the other day talking about how your city's getting gentrified. And the last thing they brought up is if you have bird scooters, your neighborhood's going to shit.
But
anyway, back to the buses. Sorry.
Yeah, I don't think that there is that much danger that bird scooters are going to wipe off the Windsor grit anytime soon, guys. Like, let's be real about this, okay?
They should have all-terrain tires on those things. Actually,
I just wanted to bring up one point that John didn't mention, and that is, if you guys remember, this 518X route almost died. The city was not going to run this route because it was quote unquote too expensive. It was a political embarrassment for the mayor, and the college had to come to the table and pony up money in order to make this route happen. Like, so I know it's a good news story. I'm happy about this. Any improvement in transit service that is going to get more people out of cars and into buses is a good thing. But like this is something that did not happen because the mayor and council were pushing forward with a goal of enhanced transit come hell or high water. The mayor canceled transit service and left people stranded. Now, granted, that was the early days of the pandemic. people were panicking. Maybe if you just got caught with your pants down and happened to be in Jordan at the start of the pandemic, you want to come back and look like you're on top of things and do something decisive like canceling transit service, which virtually no other community across the country did. But then on top of that, then this route had a dagger stuck in it. And it was going to come to council, and it was going to be a showdown, and it was going to be ugly. So there was an 11th hour, let's fix this over the weekend conversation with the college that resulted in the transit route being saved. I just want to provide that context. I'm super happy to see that that we're going back to full transit service. It's interesting. Like you look at the sort of the ebb and flow of the pandemic over the last, my God, how long has it been? And you wonder why now, like cases are actually kind of climbing up again. We seem to be heading into, knock on wood that we don't, but we seem to be heading into a potential fourth wave. So it's interesting timing to be starting service again now.
So another fun fact, if you do take the bus in downtown Windsor, having your pants down is completely acceptable. I've seen them drive by in front of my house. Actually, I'm gonna ask Doug specifically this question, and only because John's 12 years old. Doug, you and I have kids who are basically the same age. Your daughter, I believe, is going back to university. Not that you have to disclose any information. Yeah. Okay, and my
returning to post-secondary education. Yes.
There we go. How many parents?
I'm the same age as her, Don.
Yeah, are you going back to school, John? Do you have kids going back to school?
He's talking.
Kids going back to school.
Okay.
He's talking about the little one, John.
Yeah.
Okay. I was going to say. I was like, I'm not 12.
Okay.
I do have the emotional reaction of a 12-year-old.
I'll include John in this conversation. Okay. John, when you're on the bus looking for Pokemons on your app, would you? So back to Doug. That was pretty funny though. Do you think in general, and I'll make it about you. Do you think in general parents are going to be concerned putting their kids back on the bus? Well, school starts in 3 weeks, I guess. You see the numbers ramping up. There's no, I don't believe, mandatory vaccination number or thing you got to show to get on the bus. As a parent, are you going to be driving your kid to school, or are you going to let them take the bus?
So we live in walking distance to college, so that's not going to be relevant for us. But to just sort of more broadly look at that question, if I'm not taking public transportation right now, it's a really interesting question. I don't take public transit because I'll be frank, the service is just not good enough for someone with options to go that route. But I would take the bus today.
Would you?
Yeah. I think that we're in a situation where we're trying to make safe choices and trying to be careful, but at the same time, you have to get from point A to B. I would get on the bus if that was the best choice of transportation for me. It's not something that I would shy away from doing. You have to. Now we're getting into a whole different conversation, but you have to manage risk in your life. And I'm certainly not trying to take random and unfounded risks with COVID, but I've been vaccinated. I believe that there's a mask mandate on city buses, and if everybody is wearing their mask, and I've taken all the steps that I can to protect myself and protect public health, and yeah, I would take the bus.
Yeah, I'm just curious because we all know a lot of people drive their kids to school, and when we were kids, John, we used to walk uphill both ways in snowstorms with no shoes on for 12 miles. But I get the feeling personally that a lot of people, even though bus service is opening up again, unless you have to take it, you have no other option, I feel like a lot of parents are not going to take that risk, and they're going to drive their kids to school. As opposed to, so I guess the point I'm making is I don't, the great new bus with the flamethrowers and everything going. I'm curious to see how many people actually are going to take it, or are they still going to say, you know what, I'm just going to drive, or take the bird scooter, or whatever the case may be, just out of an abundance of caution.
Yeah, I think you're seeing hesitancy across big swaths of the population, and everybody makes their own risk assessment. I told you what I would do, but that's not the same as what others would choose, and that's entirely reasonable. So I think it's a fair assumption to make that there will be a smaller uptake of ridership in general. How much smaller, I'm not sure, because people still got to get from point A to B.
Well, for $5, I now have a giant Ford F-150. I can just throw kids in the back and they won't even breathe on me. So DM me and I'll see if I can pick you up along the way. Have your ticket ready.
If you throw a couple of bales of hay in the back, that's street legal in Essex County, buddy.
100%. That's how we were raised back in the LaSalle days when there was all farmland. Just chuck them in the back, stay off the side, you'll be fine.
It still is. You got to note it again. I mean, March 29th of last year was when the mayor shut down transit, and we're talking about September 1st of 2021 is how long it took to resume full service here. And, it's easy for us. None of us really take the bus on a regular basis, but there's a lot of people who have. And the fact that it was, 18, 19 months without full service for it to have been shut down for as long as it was as well. I mean, it's unfathomable. And I hope that after this pandemic is over, there is a bit of a reckoning where, the city is going to have to answer for why were you the only municipality in North America, really, that decided to do something as drastic as was done there. And, I guess all this to say, the reason is because they were able to, because our transit system has been woefully underfunded for as long as it has been. It wasn't seen as such an egregious breach that for so long as it has been, it's been running on this type of a service, because quite frankly, it's still kind of par for the course for what Windsor's been offering through our transit service. A reduction on Saturdays isn't, that big of a deal unless you're the person who needs to take transit. And, with that, that's my poignant leave it at that. We drew straws earlier today before the show. Doug was the one who drew the straw for your consideration. So we're going to let Doug present today.
Oh, thank you, Donald. So for my FYC today, that's what we call it in show lingo. My FYC today takes us back to Amherstburg, and the latest update on the issue that we talked about last week. This comes to us from CTV News Windsor. Thank you to looks like a staff reporter for writing this. Town of Amherstburg's acting CAO takes job with Kingsville. So this would be an appropriate time to insert that sad trombone sound effect. So it is for unclear reasons. The CAO of Amherstburg is not currently serving in that role. We don't know the details on that yet. So the acting CAO role was handed to the town solicitor, Susan Hirota. And this news report indicates that she has been hired by the town of Kingsville as its new director of legal services and town solicitor, meaning that there will be a new acting CAO in Amherstburg, Antonietta Joffe, who will be taking over those duties. This is starting to be like the Spinal Tap drummer of municipal bureaucrats. So
terrible gardening accident.
Ms. Joffe, stay safe out there.
Make sure you get paid up front, because you might not get a second paycheck at this point.
Hey, but if things go according to like a pattern here, she'll just end up with a job as at another municipality here in the region. So
Amherstburg is a stepping stone to like a job at a real town or real city.
Aye.
My family lives in Amherstburg. I'm allowed to make fun. It's...
Be sure to vote for Don Merrifield Jr. when
That's
he
right.
runs for Amherstburg councilor.
Yeah, well,
council.
No, Don is very cleverly laying the groundwork for his Ward 3 Essex challenge to Chris Vanderdolen by exploiting the long-standing rivalry, dare I say, hatred between the town of Essex and the town of Amherstburg. So good going, Don.
I'm gonna I'm going to fill you guys on a little something that may be shocking to you, but recently, within the past week, someone actually asked me if I was going to run in Essex County for that ward seat. So
See?
it's out there. People want Don. What can you say? I mean,
People are talking.
The people
Yeah.
have spoken.
Don, I would take that as an endorsement and start getting those stickers for the lawn signs real fast.
Fortunately, I have Ward 3 signs, so it'll
Yeah.
work perfect.
It's the stars are aligned.
You just have to do a couple stickers modification and it's perfect. Well, this has
actually, I don't. Sorry, John, I'm going to interrupt and extend the show like a couple more minutes because there's some point I want to make, which is, I think, kind of humorous. For all you NFL fans out there, football is coming back. Preseason has started. I can see Doug is just thrilled to death. He's got his jersey on already. But this is what's going to be happening. So for all, a lot of football fans tend to be a little bit more of the rugged dude type thing who are probably more so anti-vaccine and, rights and freedoms. The NFL Raiders will require fans to show vaccine proof to get into the stadium, or they have a second option. You can get a shot right at the door as you're walking in to watch the football game. So personally, I think for every sporting event, every time you go to the mall, maybe you go to the ice cream store, you got two options. Show me the passport or you get a jab right there.
Yikes. Well, that's one way to do it.
Well, Baskin Robbins, you got 31 flavors of vaccine. You can get peanut butter.
We got peanut butter, chocolate swirl, Moderna, Pfizer,
blueberry.
AstraZeneca. Well, this has been a fun show, unless Doug's about to interrupt me for a sports anecdote. No, we're going to keep plowing through then with the ending here. Thank you for making it through with us tonight. This has been Rose City Politics. It is August the 18th. I'm John Lidke. We had Doug Sartori and Don Merrifield Jr. here tonight. Please support us. Patreon.com/Rose City Politics. We are in print monthly, BizX Magazine, and at bizxmagazine.com. Be sure to like, follow, share, and subscribe. We're on social media, all of your podcasting apps. And we've been able to do this week after week after week, not missing one of them during this pandemic, or quite frankly, before the pandemic. All thanks to the kind support of Liuna 625, building better communities. We will be back next week. This is Rose City Politics.